and welcome to the Homemade Podcast Sports. This is your host, J Pops.
And welcome back to the Homemade Podcast Sports with your host, J Pops. Guys, this is a real quick episode. This is the Homemade Podcast of Sports Extra. I'm not going to be long here, but I just wanted to answer something real quick and just give you guys an analogy on something. So real quick, we're going to do a talent gap. Also, we're going to speak about some things. Well, I'm going to speak about some things so far as what's the, actual recruiting that goes into the talent gap. So without further ado, the first one that I will bring up here, and this is, like I said, it's real quick. And this is something that a lot of people do not bring up. But for whatever reason, a lot of guys are looking for this game on October 9th, which is Alabama versus Texas A&M. This almost will be one of the game of the centuries. I'm not going to say it's the game of the century like LSU and Alabama was. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. Before you guys come on here and clarify that, but it is shaping up to be one of the more premier games in the SEC West in a long time between Alabama and Texas A&M. And like I say, man, we're going to get to like the talent gap factor. But this is one thing that people aren't bringing up because it's a lot of people that are saying LSU is the only team in the West that can challenge Alabama. It's a lot of people that are saying LSU is the only team in the SEC period that can challenge Alabama. The reason why they're saying that is because, quote unquote, they're the team that has given Alabama an actual run for their money, and that's one of the only teams that has actually been able to do, and this, we're talking about so far as like talent. So when Ed Orgeron took over, he took over in 2016 as the interim coach. He took over by far one of the most talented rosters that you could act for in the SEC and the SEC West in general. A lot of people hate to mention this here. Ed O is going on his sixth season. He's going on his sixth season now, I believe. He's been there longer than Jimbo Fisher has at Texas A&M. All right, so a lot of people hate to bring up this factor here, but they'll give Jimbo Fisher a lot of flack about his record. Ed Orgeron is only 1-4 against Nick Saban. Now that record gets overlooked because Ed Orgeron was the head coach of a national title team in 2019, which is one of the best college football teams that I've witnessed offensively in a very long time. That record gets overlooked. I'm sorry, it gets overlooked. He is 1-4 once again against Nick Saban, and he's 1-2 against Jimbo Fisher. Now, on to the talent. When they went up against each other, when Ed Orgeron and Nick Saban went up against each other, Ed Orgeron brought in an average recruiting class that was with him that was ranked 7th nationally so far as talent is concerned. Nick Saban brought in a class that was ranked 2, between the 2016 through the 2019 season. He brought in a number 2, talented class. Once again, he brought in a number 2 talented class, and Ed brought in an average ranking of like a number 7 talented class. Or, Nick might have brought in a number 1 class. Either way it goes, there was a lot of talent on the field. LSU was supposed to win sooner or later with the talent that they had, okay? So a lot of people just hate to forget that. They were supposed to win. They were right behind them neck and neck in the SEC in general in talent, man. They were supposed to win it, all right? So moving along here, what's the talent gap between A&M and Alabama leading up into this 2022? Jimbo Fisher's only been there going on his 4th year. He is by far clamp that talent down into a top 10 talented roster. Okay, so you got Nick Saban that's going to come in with a dominant, average ranking of number one class out of the years leading up of when Jimbo Fisher got to A&M to now going into the 2021 season. His average ranking is like number one. Jimbo Fisher's average talent gap on that team is at 9. Once again, the reason why I'm picking A&M to win this game is not because of my bias with A&M. It's because of the coaching stability that is there. Okay. Also, Jimbo Fisher has recruited the talent to go up against Alabama now. Also, A&M plays at home. Okay. Yeah, we haven't won against Alabama ever since we've been to SEC at home. We don't have a home winning record against them. Jimbo Fisher is 0-3 against Nick Saban. Once again, he is 0-3. It's still a losing record at the end of the day, but he's 0-3. Ed is 1-4. So I don't understand what the issue is with you guys believing that A&M can actually go up against Alabama and beat them. They now have the talent to do it. I just gave you an example. Ed have a number 7 average roster that came in with him. A&M has an average roster in the 4 years of Jimbo Fisher being here at like 9th. 9th and 7th. That's a huge smash in of where Jimbo Fisher found this roster when he started. That's a huge leap forward. So you guys have to understand me and you guys have to hear me. Understand the Alabama factor has been there. Understand they reload at talent each and every year. Understand they have playmakers on both sides of the ball each and every year. I understand the record against A&M. But you guys also have to understand the record that it was when they played Ed Orgeron. He won in 2019. Nick Saban was on a streak of 8 wins. He had won against them like 8 straight times, man. Once again, you guys forget these type of things because of the team that it is. It's LSU. So you guys don't think about that. I remember when LSU lost 28-0. I think it was 28-29-0. And I heard a lot of you guys say that year that, oh, well, that was a good loss. You know, it was a darn good game. It's just plays couldn't be made. Wow. You guys give them credit for that. If it was A&M, they lost 29-0. Well, I just don't know what they're going to do. Jimbo Fisher may need to go. And I don't get it. I don't get it, man. So I'm telling you guys this now. Once again, I've made my prediction already. Not saying it's going to be a blowout. This will be the deciding factor for me to say if this game just may be a blowout against Alabama. When Texas A&M plays Arkansas, and I'm going to shut the episode down after this. When Texas A&M plays Arkansas, if Texas A&M is up by 4 touchdowns in that Arkansas game by halftime, then you can darn well best believe that Texas A&M can beat Alabama. I'm going to say that once again. If Texas A&M is up by 4 touchdowns in that Arkansas game is going to be very, very important because we're on a winning streak. You got, and I'm gonna talk about that game later on throughout other weeks. You guys have to remember, once again, if Texas A&M is up by 4 touchdowns in that Arkansas game, come that October 9th game, people around the world would be discussing the same thing that they said about LSU of when they played Texas, how they did not let up off the gas. I'm saying this to you once again for the 3rd time. The 3rd time's a charm. If Texas A&M is up by 4 touchdowns in that Arkansas game, you can bet you're behind that it's going to be a game 1 at Kyle Field. I'm saying this now. If they're not up by 4, even if they're just up by 3 touchdowns at halftime, that game at Kyle Field, expect Texas A&M to be up early, real early. That's all I'm saying. Because if that team is rolling by then, that's the Jimbo Fisher's offense that everyone has been waiting on. Mark my words when I say that. Once again, guys, you guys are tuned in to the Homemade Podcast Sports Extra. I love all of you guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. #GiggleMax.
And thank you guys for tuning in to the #Homemade Podcast Sports. Please, guys, subscribe to the YouTube page and also follow me on Twitter @JPops, on Instagram @JPops, and also on Facebook at #Homemade Podcast Sports. Thank you guys once again. #GiggleMax.